Pokemon types. There are 18 of them, some good, some bad. Generally speaking, the best 3 types are Steel, Fairy, and Water. Fairy just is insane offensively and solid defensively. Steel has over twice as many resistances as neutral matchups, and Water is well balanced both defensively and offensively, not having any glaring issues. I'd say that these 3 are generally accepted to be the best 3 types, but what about the worst types? For most of Pokemon, the worst types are Bug and Ice, and maybe Poison. Bug is trash offensively, and mid at best defensively, due to its weaknesses to Stealth Rocks, and for Ice, just look at those defensive matchups. But here's the thing, all of this is for most competitive Pokemon tiers. Little Cup, where all Pokemon are level 5 babies, acts a bit differently. The worst type in Little Cup is one that's usually good, but struggles so much in the current meta. The worst type in Little Cup, right now, is the Psychic type. You may be correctly wondering how the Psychic type could possibly be the worst type. After all, the Bug type exists, as does the Ice type. Not to mention, the single best Pokemon in all of Little Cup is weak to Psychic. But there are a number of reasons as to why the Psychic type is the worst, starting with stats. Out of the 15 Psychic types in Little Cup, only 8 of them have over 300 BST, or base stat total. There are almost no usable Little Cup mons with below 300, and so immediately Psychic is off to a bad start. Taking a closer look at the stats of Psychic types, there is certainly a trend. Most of them have bad overall stats, with low speed but high special attack. And the high special attack is very nice. Little Cup doesn't have too many extremely strong special attackers to just nuke a mon or 2 from the opponent's team, so that's nice. The most commonly used special attacker is Hisuian Voltorb, who has a measly 55, lower than quite a few of the Psychic types. The biggest problem, however, is speed. There's only one Psychic type that can reach 17 speed. Being slow isn't inherently a bad thing in Little Cup, but when you combine it with most Psychic types, a trend begins to form. There are a couple of Psychic types which could be good, great even, but are held back by just abysmal speed stats. Solosis would be insane with Magic Guard Life Orb base 105 special attack, but with base 20 speed, even with a Scarf you're not outspeeding too much. But why specifically is speed so bad for Psychic types? This leads me to the next reason that they suck, Knockoff. And please, knock off that subscribe button, I'm almost at 4K. Knockoff is the best move in Little Cup, plain and simple. The best item, Eviolite, gives a 1.5 times boost to both defense stats. Basically, it's broken. As a result, pretty much every single Pokemon that can run Knockoff does. Bulky support mon with special attacks plus a minus attack nature? Knockoff. Special attacker? Knockoff. Knockoff is getting clicked so many times every game that Psychic types have a hard time coming in. Everything that can runs Knockoff, so everything that can hit Psychic types super effectively. Let me remind you, Psychic types don't have good base stat totals whatsoever in Little Cup. Bulky Psychic types like Slowpoke or Bronzor don't want to take that much chip and lose their Eviolites, and frail Psychic types like Gothita or Solosis will just get OHKO'd. It's a lose-lose either way. But wait, isn't the best Pokemon in the tier a fighting type? Well, yeah, introducing Mienfoo.
Now we have to add a Mienfoo. Mienfoo belongs on 100% of Little Cup teams. It is basically the perfect Pokemon. It does everything well. It has a good attack, good bulk, regenerator, it has knockoff, which is very valuable in Little Cup, it has U-turn, which is a great move, and it has high jump kick, one of the strongest moves in Little Cup. The reason high jump kick is better than close combat is because coincidentally there are not many ghost types in Little Cup, and because Little Cup is offensive, the defense drop from close combat can be deadly for Mienfoo, and you would rather risk the mischance with high jump kick. Mienfoo is mandatory on every team, and I guarantee adding a Mienfoo will give you good value.
This is Mienfoo. Sitting at 2'11" and 44.1 pounds, he is the best Pokemon in Little Cup. Psychic types on paper seem like a great check to Mienfoo. But quickly, what is a counter in competitive Pokemon? A counter is a Pokemon that can switch in, eat a hit, and threaten out or KO the opposing Pokemon. A check, on the other hand, is a Pokemon that, if given a free switch in, say following one of your mons being KO'd or a U-turn or something, can threaten out or KO the opposing Pokemon. And there aren't really any counters to Mienfoo here, only checks. The single best Psychic type this generation can't switch in on a Mienfoo without losing its Choice Scarf and taking 85 to 107% damage while doing so. Gothita can't even comfortably check Mienfoo unless it's chipped. Or Gothita uses Terra Psychic, as its move Psychic only KOs a full health Mienfoo 6.3% of the time. and then Mienfoo just U-turns out or knocks off Gothita then outspeeds it next time. Slowpoke, the best bulky psychic type, can switch into Mienfoo knockoff and tank it, but it's a guaranteed 3-hit KO, and it can't OHKO Mienfoo back, so it will still lose. The only psychic type who can really check, and I use that word lightly, is Bronzor, who can technically switch into Mienfoo and survive quite a few hits, but it's a trash mon that isn't worth using. Plus, Mienfoo has U-turn to comfortably and easily switch out. Psychic types cannot comfortably check Mienfoo, as it has U-turn to deal super effective damage and switch out on the switch in, or knock off to remove an item and usually deal over half. Most psychic types can't even check Mienfoo, as they'll lose one-on-one, even without having to switch into it. If they don't lose one-on-one, Mienfoo can just switch out with U-turn, deal a ton of damage, usually around half to a psychic type, and heal 1/3 of its health with Regenerator. It's pretty hopeless using psychic types against Mienfoo. And all of this is without even mentioning that the probably 3rd best mon is a dark type, which can smoke every psychic type around, so yeah. And actually the 4th best mon is a dark type as well, so it's really not looking good. Although the bug type sucks in Little Cup, with a lot of issues as well, Larvesta and Nimble are both good mons, with specific niches that can do what they do well without losing to a mon despite having a type advantage that's on 80% of high ladder teams. The ice type is decent enough as well. I don't really think anyone can call Hail garbage with Snover and Alolan Sandshrew, but both ice and bug still really suck, and actually rock is pretty bad as well. But I'd argue that they're all still better than psychic, if only barely. The sad part for me is that there is a psychic type, which is one of my favorites, that can at least check Mienfoo, but it's not in this gen. Abra. Abra outspeeds Mienfoo and can easily OHKO it with Psychic using its absurd special attack stat. It also has a ton of other good moves, and ways to beat Dark and Steel types with moves like Substitute Focus Punch and such. Abra, however, doesn't exist this gen, so for the time being, Psychic type is, in my opinion, the worst type in Little Cup right now. With only one good, and admittedly very good, mon, the rest falls somewhere between outclassed and just straight garbage. They can't even counter a certain fighting type despite a type advantage. Psychic type is still one of the best types in most tiers, but it has only gotten worse as time has passed. Despite still being good in other tiers, it still isn't as good as it once was, obviously. It's hard to top Gen 1 Psychic types. Obviously, in Little Cup it is unfortunate, but in my opinion, yeah, Psychic type's the worst type. Comment your thoughts in this video. I would love to hear what you all have to think about the slightly longer format, and let me know if you would watch a more unedited video of me talking, or is the editing a make or break? Anyways, thank you very much for being here. I'm LemonLC, and subscribe. Peace.